Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Ezra Helfin. I'm the Executive Director at Wellspring Center for Prevention. I would like to acknowledge the fact that you're all here, and I thank you for that. I thank you for the folks from the Woodbridge Peer Recovery Center, and at least I want to acknowledge one of our board members, Sherry, if you could just wave. Okay, good. Members of the Wellspring staff, if you could wave, because you've all worked hard for this. And especially Heather Ward, who will stand up and gimp her way over here so that she can do the rest of the introductions. But we love doing this every year. This is our 20th year. We started a program 4 years ago to award a special plaque to individuals who are prominent in the community as far as their recovery work. I really can't speak intelligently. The first one to get it was Joel, right in the back there, who's hiding. He had a partner who's not here today, and today we'll recognize another gentleman, Mr. Johansson. So at this point, I want to turn it over to Heather, who's going to stand up and do additional introductions.
And I'm just going to stand right here.
She's going to stand right there. She's a teacher, so she knows how to belt it out. Go for it.
Oh, thank you guys for being here. The Tree of Hope is one of my favorite ceremonies and things we do at Wellspring Center for Prevention. It means so much to me, as it does to, I'm sure, all of you, because the point of the Tree of Hope is to let people know that recovery is possible. I know there's a lot so there is a lot of stigma around substance use and addiction, and all of the people that are here today hold that here in their heart. And we know that that's not true, because recovery is possible. So the Tree of Hope goes to an agency that really works hard to get that message out there. That yes, substance use is an issue. Yes, people have problems with substances, but they can recover from it. They can lead the life they want to. And I am so happy to be here, especially today, because I am a Woodbridge resident. And it is my honor to introduce Bonnie Nolan, who is the Executive Director of the Peer Recovery Program here, based here in Woodbridge.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it, Heather. This is such an honor. Thank you very much. This is an honor on behalf of all the recovery coaches. There are a lot of people that have to be thanked. So I'm going to start by thanking my family over here, because from the beginning of this program, they've put up with some crazy things like getting phone calls in the middle of the night from emergency rooms and things like that, things they weren't really used to. So I appreciate their support always. I also want to thank two groups who behaved in a kind of a counterintuitive way. First of all, the mayor and the Woodbridge Police Department in 2016, when we were just beginning to get an idea how bad this epidemic was, instead of running from it, instead of trying to incarcerate people, instead of trying to shun people who were suffering from addiction, the mayor reached out and said, what can we do to help these people? I've been to too many funerals. What can we do as a township to help? The police were right behind him. So 100% the police were involved in this. They wanted to do something. They were already administering Narcan every time there was an overdose. They were one of the first police departments in the state to do this at 100% rate. And so in addition to doing that, they also wanted to find a way to help. They didn't want to keep going back to the same homes time after time after time. So together, the mayor and the police department and myself worked together to try to figure out how we could implement a peer recovery coach program. The very early days of the program involved mostly me and Chris as coaches. So we were going to emergency rooms as peer recovery coaches. I think most of the people here are familiar with what a peer recovery coach is. It's a person in long-term recovery who goes and helps somebody. So I mentioned that the mayor and the police were incredible in terms of sort of going against the status quo and looking at a way they could help rather than shunning people who are suffering from addiction, which is what happens so often. The other group that is really always acting in a way that still surprises me every day are people in recovery. So the peer recovery coaches that we have who are in recovery are just amazing people. These are people who have been to hell and back. They've been through things that we can't even begin to imagine. And instead of putting that life behind them and moving on and trying to get away from the substance use world, they're actually going back into hospital emergency rooms and pulling people out of that life. They're actually going back every single day. They're going back and getting involved in that again and telling people over and over again how they can find lasting recovery. And I'm inspired by these people every day, and that's who this award is for. So thank you so much. And with that, thanks to everyone. With that, I would like to introduce our mayor, John McCormick.
Thank you very much. So the story about going to too many wakes and funerals is true. Bonnie's husband Jim's our town attorney. We have regular Friday lunches, and Bonnie frequently joined us with her daughter, sometimes the sons, and it's all just a great environment with the Nolan family. They're terrific. And I talked to Bonnie about the problem and what can we do. Bonnie's not Dr. Bonnie Nolan. Nobody introduced her as Dr. Bonnie Nolan. She is a neuroscientist. Is that right? Okay, and I can't even spell that. But we started talking about what we can do, and one thing led to another. Her ideas led to some actions on our part, as Bonnie said, with the police department and Narcan, and suddenly the coach program was formed. Then Bonnie had the good sense to hire Chris Powers, who we've known for a while, who was just a terrific assistant to Bonnie. And then we started doing it in Woodbridge. It proved to be very successful. It was so good that other towns started calling us and asking us for help. And before long, we were doing 7 other towns in Middlesex County out of the 21. And before long, we were doing the whole county. And right now, everybody in the county, every town goes through the Woodbridge program. We've been successful getting grants. We've been honored by many different entities, and it's just great to stand here and recognize Bonnie. You know, I talk about her all the time, and it's great when someone else backs me up, because I'm the mayor. I'm supposed to talk about people in town and how good they are. And a lot of times people don't believe politicians when they say things. So here's a group that's proving that what I've been saying for the past 5 years is true. Dr. Bonnie Nolan is absolutely tremendous in what she does. She talks about all hours of the night. She talks about trips she's made and just the help she's given to people on a one-on-one basis, as well as a leader of a group of coaches who give out that help on a one-on-one basis. It's just amazing. She got an award, I guess, a couple of years ago. We were down at Old Bridge, and I talked about how, you know, people in government often talk about changing people's lives. And that's good when we can do that. When we can impact people's quality of life as government officials, that's great. Bonnie Nolan saves people's lives. And that's why she's so amazing. And the group she has with her, they literally save people's lives. You can't measure it, you can't point to it, you can't look at numbers, but you know it's there. The fact is, her and her coaches, we're so very proud of them. As I said, our program was copied by so many others, and now we're a role model for the entire state of New Jersey. I can't think of anybody better in our township government for what they've done to impact people than Dr. Bonnie Nolan. And this tree is very welcome. It's going to be here forever. You don't know the story of this courtyard. This place has been a mess. Every year somebody comes in and some Boy Scout does a project and they clean it up and it's good for a year and a half and then it's a mess again. Well, I got to believe Bonnie works in this building and Chris works in this building, and they're going to make sure that this stays as good looking as it does right now, because they're not going to let it go into disrepair. So I'm just thrilled that you've recognized the efforts of Dr. Bonnie Nolan, and I'm thrilled that she works for us, and I'm proud of her. I'm proud to call her my friend, and I think the world of her and the job she's done here in Woodbridge Township. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And I do want to express my gratitude for this beautiful tree. It's a myrtle, which is one of my favorites, so I can't wait to see it bloom. That's really exciting. It's going to be beautiful. And again, I always want to make sure that Chris gets recognized. I also need to point out Gabby over there. Gabby runs our office. She's our admin, and she's incredible. She really has been amazing throughout COVID, throughout everything. Thank you, Gabby. We had one or two people who wanted to speak about the program. One in particular, somebody who we've met kind of recently by standards of the program, but I would really like for you to hear her story. Erin Baza works with us now as an intern, but she's got a really moving story, and I would love for you to hear that. So please welcome Erin.
Thank you, Molly. Thank you, everyone, for coming out. It's a beautiful day in a beautiful garden. Something that I don't really like doing, but Chris is like, come on, you got to get to the tomatoes. And I'm like, I don't have a green thumb. But yeah, Bonnie asked me to speak. I'm going to just tell a little bit about my story and what brought me to work with Bonnie, Chris, and Gabby, and all the recovery coaches. And, you know, the clients that I've helped, or the recoveries rather, that I've helped so far in this process of being an intern. Basically, my story is I'm in recovery. I just celebrated a year, July 21st. Thank you. It was not my first time in recovery. I did have some clean time before that, but this time is a lot different because I'm doing it for myself, and I have so many wonderful people like Bonnie, Chris, people that I've met in 12-step programs to really lift me up and have learned to know me and know, and to help me. Mental illness is a big part of my story. When I was 18, I was diagnosed with bipolar 1 with psychotic features. I know that's a very scary term, but luckily with today and all the breaking the stigmas and all the knowledge and literature that they have out there, it's a lot less scary than it was back in 2006 when I was diagnosed. In 2006, I was also introduced to some harder drugs, and my life had become unmanageable. I had gotten a couple of arrests, did some jail time, and I always managed to try to keep afloat, but my demons and my addictions always held me down. For a while, I was a preschool teacher. I remember getting arrested and the state trooper saying, "I can't believe you're a preschool teacher. I would not want someone like you to teach my 4-year-old." And that just goes to show that it affects every walk of life. You don't know who's dealing with these battles and what they're gonna look like, how they're gonna come across. So when I had gotten clean the first time, I had started to get things back in my life. I became a property manager. Great career. I was making a lot of money, but money for a lot of us is a trigger. I met the love of my life, had this beautiful home, and last summer of 2020, I had lost it all in a matter of weeks. I wasn't taking my medication. My mental illness was pretty severe, and I was in the throes of addiction pretty bad. I actually was on my way to have my second suicide attempt, and it was like a divine intervention. My sister had called me. My sister would make fake social media accounts to watch me from behind the scenes, and she noticed that I wasn't doing well. So she was like, enough is enough. Let's get you help. Let's get you treatment. And I said yes. For some reason, I said yes. And that was the day that I turned my life around, and I saved myself from myself. And here I stand, a year later, still having clean time. I met Bonnie through a Smart Recovery meeting that she facilitates. I started going there in October. My therapist had said I wasn't quite ready to go back to NA yet. I'm in NA today, but I wasn't ready to go back yet. So my therapist had suggested Smart Recovery. I met Bonnie and the great people that go to that group, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with my life, but I knew I wanted to help people like me. who are struggling with the same demons as me. And Bonnie suggested becoming a CPRS, a Certified Peer Recovery Specialist. I then went to school, did some coursework through Mainstream Recovery, and I was looking to get, because you need to get 500 hours for your certification. So I was talking to Bonnie about, starting an internship, and through a lot of paperwork later, I finally got to start, and Chris and Gabby and Bonnie have been so amazing. They really have given me the opportunity to grow and learn. Currently, I'm working with 4 recoveries. I'm going to speak quickly about one of the recoveries that I work with. His name, I shouldn't mention his name, but I met him on my clean date, July 21st. And he had severe mental illness and was struggling very bad with some of his symptoms. Me and Chris went over to his sister's house, and I believe the way things work and how they work, we went over there, talked to his sister for about half hour, 45 minutes. The recovery wasn't there, and as we were on our way back to the office, his sister called us. And so we get there, and I just started asking him questions that professionals ask me when I go to new treatment, like, do you believe you have special powers? Delusions, basically. And he said yes to every question. And Chris was like, okay, let's go to the hospital. Let's get you help. So we went to UBHC in Piscataway, and I stood by his side. He was really scared at first, really lost, really out of touch with reality. And it was just the biggest high that I've ever been on, to help somebody, and to the exact day, a year later. A year ago, I was signing myself into a treatment facility, and here I am helping somebody else get treatment and better themselves and change their life. And I was able to do that with him and be there for him and be an advocate for him. So that was something really beautiful. I leave every day with my spirit so fed and so full. It's beyond rewarding and fulfilling, this line of work. And just a shout out to all the other recovery coaches. I usually input all their notes, and you can tell by their notes that they're dedicated to helping other people like them as well. It's just a beautiful thing, and it wouldn't be possible without all of you here helping support the cause. Thanks for letting me share.
So thank you, Erin. And I wanted to take a minute because some of our recovery coaches are here. So I wanted to know if you guys would just kind of stand up and wave. I see Celeste over there. Do you mind if we say Roberto, Russell, hey, Carlos back there, Carlos, the other Carlos. These guys are amazing. They really are incredible human beings, and of course, Chris. So I want to thank you for that. Is there anyone else in recovery or who wants to give their story? Roberto? Come on. Woo!
How you doing, everybody? Carlos, I'm gonna kill you, man. I'm just gonna keep this brief, but I was looking at this tree, and it's not just a tree for me, man. It's very special because I'm supposed to be under that tree. If it wasn't for this organization, I'll be dead. So it's a miracle you're watching right now, me being up here, because I shouldn't be up here. But what it was is that somebody actually cared about if I lived or died. I didn't care if I lived or died. But when I overdosed the last 2 times, this organization was by my bedside both times. And the first time I didn't pay no attention. I said, oh, this guy must want a cigarette or he wants something from me. And I overdosed again and he was there again. So I said, wait a minute, this guy actually cares if I live or die, because I really don't. So I just came to a decision that, okay, I want to live because every time I do something, I overdose. So it's serious. So what I did was I just gave my will up to Carlos, and I just said, listen, just show me the way and tell me what to do, and I'm going to do it. You know, I'm not making no decisions on my own. You know, I feel funny because I'm not used to being around normal people. You know, every time I see a crowd like this, I'm in prison. So this is kind of funny to me. But let me tell you something. This organization, I really wish they had this type of organization in Jersey City, where I'm from, because when I overdosed 4 times in Jersey City, they just get you back up and they throw your ass out from the emergency room with no help, no nothing. So this is a special, man. I wouldn't be alive today, for real. I wouldn't be alive if it wasn't for Bonnie and her crew, man. Carlos, Michelle, I don't know if she's here or not, Erin, and that's only a couple of people that I've met. But, man, it's good to be around normal people, man. You know what I'm saying? It is. I'm not used to it, man. But I feel so happy today because it's a miracle that I'm here. And if it wasn't for Bonnie and her crew, I wouldn't be here. So, thank you, Bonnie. I appreciate it. And thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much. Thanks for that. That was really brave, and I appreciate it. I don't know if I mentioned that Rob's our newest recovery coach. Did I say Rob? All right, good. All right, just want to make sure. All right, so with that, I think that's all of our speakers. Heather, thank you so much again for this beautiful award, and thank you, Ezra. I really appreciate it. It's so nice to be honored. So.
Thank you. All right, thank you to everyone who just spoke. I need to say I'm up here listening to your stories, and my eyes were welling up because I know how important places like this are and how wonderful this program is. Something else we love to do with the Tree of Hope is honor an individual who does everything within their power to help the recovery community. We have done this for a few years now, and it is my honor to say that this year we are honoring, and I have to read because James, you are involved in so many different things and I don't want to leave anything out. So I apologize, but I'm reading from my phone right now. So today we honor James Johansson, who is Director of Program Services at Damon House, a recovery facility in New Brunswick, New Jersey. He is a licensed minister at Metro Church and a mainstream recovery consultant, a Middlesex Borough Drug Alliance committee member, Perth Amboy Police Chaplain, Middlesex County Recovery Community Center Vice President, Certified Peer Recovery Specialist, NCADD Mental Health Advocate, Renovation House Volunteer and Teacher, the Chaplain House Vice President, and Vice President of the Antonia Maria Foundation. And I'm sure many, many more wonderful things. Yes. Something else, as I call James up to receive his award, I need to say whenever I am out in the community at a tabling event or at National Night Out, James is always there. Mm-hmm. And I need to say his presence brings a smile to everyone around him. I love when I see him walking up to the table and I'm just like, James Johansson, oh my gosh, what are you doing? So definitely very deserving of the Recovery Champion Award, and it is my pleasure to give this to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's an honor to be here. Real quick, the main thing on the rest of that is I'm a husband and a father to 4 kids. 3 girls and a 3-year-old boy who, if he was here, he'd be grabbing all the tomatoes right now. Right? His name is Trey. James Johansson Jr. three J's, and my wife's name is Tanya, so she gets a T in there somewhere. So, first of all, it's an honor to be here. Giving honor to God, to Mayor, Ezra, Heather, all the constituents here, Dr. Bonnie Nolan, my brother Joe Pamalis, and George, and my brother in front of me, Chris Powers, and so many other people that I know. Just want to share a brief thing on hope. And really honored to have my wife come with me today. My wife's not in recovery, right? And the beauty of it is she supports the vision, because that's my passion. She supports it, doesn't understand it all the time, but supports it. So it's an honor to have you here, honey, and I appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to be here. So on Saturday, or Friday night, I got the call for Saturday I'm a Perth Amboy police chaplain, and they just got the green light to have a gathering for 9/11. And they gave us all a little pin and said, "We will never forget." And I want to challenge you for you never to forget what you have been through. As people walk into Damon House and they come in shackles doing the duck walk because they have chains on their feet, it keeps it fresh to me. It keeps it green, right? As I have the opportunity to sponsor guys in the rooms, it keeps it fresh, it keeps it green, right? And the beauty of recovery is it's just one person helping the other. That's all it is. And I'd like to give honor to two organizations that I'm representing today are Damon House, my CEO, Eileen Bradley, who's been at Damon House 41 years. We honor her. She couldn't be here today. Many of you know Eileen Bradley, and she has seen the ebb and flow of treatment and has sustained a 64-bed residential program in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and 10 blocks up, we have an IOP and OP. And then my brother, who I've known for many years, Joe Pamalis, he represents Mainstream Recovery, founder and CEO. And the beauty of this thing is the message is the same, but the methods have to change. What does that mean? March 20th, 1992, I was sitting in Passaic County Jail at the age of 19, facing 4 years in state prison. And a group came to my mother's church called Youth Challenge, and they were sing and testify. And in the middle of the service, they said, if you know anybody that needs help, raise your hand. My mother jumped up in the middle of a church service with tears in her eyes, and she said, my son. I was sitting in the county jail, out of my wits' end, right? And they came and represented me in court. And Laura Daddio, the public defender, who's good friends of mine, and Judge Rothenberger, he said, I heard it straight and narrow. You know, Patterson's the mecca of treatment. Straight and narrow, EVA's, Turning Point, it's a million treatment agencies, but we have a pandemic. I never heard of Youth Challenge, but he said, I'm gonna give you a chance. So as I jumped in the car and was released in the custody of the executive director, Curtis Diaz, I'm driving down, I'm thinking I'm going to a plush resort. I want a little acupuncture, a little sushi. I pull up to the Stockton Street projects in Perth Amboy. And we had the first floor of the 9-story project building. But I was ready. So first thing I want to encourage you, not everybody's ready. And the beauty of peer work is walking alongside of them. I call it a three-legged race. You tie your leg around each other's. And where, you know, a couple years ago, Ludacris says, when I move, you move. Just like that. That's peer work, right? Because as a clinician, which I am, I got treatment plan goals. You need to do this, you need to do this, They may not be ready for that. You walk alongside them. And that's the beauty of peer work. And it's so great to see how far we've come in the peer world. And so far, so good, but we have a long ways to go. So first of all, I was ready. I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. We heard the cliche, right? Right? Second of all, I realized as I look back, I was resilient. Turn to the person next to you and say, you're resilient. You're resilient. You're resilient. You are. We're in a pandemic and we made it. We're resilient. When I was on the streets of Patterson doing what I was doing, I was resilient. You are resilient in your own right, whatever that resiliency looks like. Right? I'm part of OEM for Middlesex Borough. I forgot to mention that, but don't worry about that. So OEM, I'm on the Middlesex Borough Rescue Squad, right? So driving through Middlesex Borough, where I now reside for the last 7 years, and seeing all the stuff on the curb. Going through Manville on Sunday as I was going to an outreach event at Central Jersey Airport and seeing the tragedy. We are resilient people. And if you're in recovery, you're resilient. You made it through. Some of us know people that have not made it through, that are strung out, that are dead, that are in prison. You're resilient. And third of all, first you have to be ready. Then you have to realize you're resilient, but that doesn't stop there, right? You have to continue to move on and reinvent yourself. The game didn't change, but the hustle did. The same effort I put in the street, I now put in my recovery. Why do we get sober and clean and kick back and kick our feet up? There are people dying every day. The hustle needs to be hard. Hustle hard. I'm almost going to start talking about main up. Hustle. Every day I'm hustling, Rick Ross. Hustle has to continue. There are people dying every single day. Between Damon House and my cell phone, I get 50 calls a day for treatment. 50. From all levels of care. Mothers crying. You know the stories, right? Same face, similar story. We have to reinvent ourselves. As I mentioned, the message is still the same, but the methods have to change. I'm a pastor in North Heldon, that's another Metro Church, right? And we had to reinvent ourselves and go into the community where we couldn't enter the four walls of the church. So what did we do? Outreach. Go out in, right? How do you win people over? You meet their physical need, and then you can talk to them about the spiritual need, right? So reinvent yourself. So wherever you're going through, I encourage you to reinvent yourself and continue to move forward in whatever your purpose is. March 20th, 1992, this year will be 30 years coming up. As I pulled into Stockton Street Projects at the age of 19, it was a Friday night service. They were singing. I said, where we at, Pastor? This is where the program at. The mayor back then was George Alowski, and he gave them the first floor of the 9-story project building. And we were a light in a dark place, but I was ready. Then I went upstate New York for 12 to 15 months. Then I realized when I came back, I couldn't go back to Patterson. Some of us got to change our people, places, and things. So I gave a year commitment and then went on to college in Florida and came back and went to the second phase and became director up there. And then I said, God called me to transition out of the faith-based into the secular. And for the last 17 years, I have the honor to have a tremendous mentor in Eileen Bradley, whose office is right next to mine, and she's no joke. But to be in this business for 41 years and focus on the indigent population, we don't take insurance. All you need is a Jersey address. I'm not running your Horizon, your Aetna, none of that. It's outstanding. And focus on the criminal justice client. And so we're so excited today for this award, and I'd like to encourage you. It's the tree of hope. The proverb says, hope deferred maketh the heart sick. During this pandemic, suicide has went up. Telling an addict to stay home and isolate is the worst thing you can do for them. Hope. May we be a beacon of hope to those that we encounter in our community. On my left arm is tatted Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you a future and give you a hope. So as this is a great, great occasion, I remember being at the St. Peter's one a couple of times, and Chris, you're doing an amazing job with the tomatoes and the basil. I need some of that later, please. You know, got the green thumb. We are ever excited about Middlesex County. I moved back to this county. I have a heart for this county, right? And we want to continue to work together in unity to bring change in this community. So it's an honor and a privilege. I could talk forever. You don't want, we can talk forever. But thank you very much. It's an honor. Thank you.
I'll try and stay up. Otherwise, I'll put a show for everybody by falling backwards. Okay. Yes, I've heard you talk many times, James, and we're very proud to have selected you as the recipient this year, and Joel hiding behind you. Anyway, the one thing that sort of encapsulates the whole event is the fact that we provide a plaque that hopefully the Department of Public Works will put on the wall behind me. And I'd like the mayor and Dr. Nolan to come up here and accept this. And James, I have to tell you, I'm so glad that I left the house and on my couch is an envelope full of programs that I forgot, and the write-up about you, which was 3 pages long, so I'm glad you were able to encapsulate it. Anyway, guys, this is a plaque that says Tree of Hope presented the Woodbridge Peer Recovery Program in recognition of National Recovery Month, September 2021, in celebration of those who found the joy of recovery, in hope of those who still suffer without recovery, in memory of those who never found recovery. And I'd like to acknowledge the folks from Penn Medicine and Princeton House for this plaque. So thank you all. Thank you, guys. Okay. See if I can manage to stay up.
One more. Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We look forward to seeing you at the 22nd one next year. That's the other thing I sent you, right? List of all 20 facilities. Do you know that I go to all of them at least once a year just to check on how the trees are doing? I'm crazy. Well, it's all right. The one in front of Damon House is still there, so we're proud of that. Heather, go ahead.
So the last thing we have is there's some refreshments inside. We'd love for you guys to stay and mingle and talk amongst yourselves, as well as you may have noticed when you came in, there's a table that has little stars on it, and we have pens that you can write names on. This is for anyone who has found recovery that you want to celebrate, someone who is still suffering in the throes of addiction, or someone that maybe was lost that never found recovery. And we invite you to just grab them, write a name if you would like, and you can come put it on the tree and celebrate that person for all of their life. Thank you so much for being here.